Do you know what is a deal? Do you know how to calculate ARV? Well, in this video, I'm going to answer both of those for you. Oh, and also find cash buyers for your deals. Stand by. Let's get it. Hello guys, this is Ty, aka the Flip Man. One of the main reasons why most individuals may not succeed at wholesaling houses or real estate in general is because they simply don't know what is a deal, a great deal. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Dealulator.com, aka PropStream, how to determine if you actually have a deal or not. Along with that, it starts with an actual simple formula to determine that. That's the first thing I'm going to show you in this video, and then we'll get over to determining what is the true value of a house in excellent condition, because it all starts there. If you don't know that, you won't ever succeed at this business, because you have to backdoor it with the mindset of the actual cash buyer that you will wholesale your contract or your property to. So stand by. I'm going to show you a simple formula on how to determine if you actually have a deal or not. Okay, after repair value, also known as ARV. What this simply means is, what will the house appraise for in excellent condition? Don't get confused with the repair portion of this term. It simply means, what will the house appraise for in excellent condition? You must know this before you know if you have a deal or not. Get comments, students, non-students. Seem like this is the most difficult thing for people to figure out. But guys, you have to simply understand, when someone says that they're motivated, you don't know that they're motivated until you get a price based on what the house will appraise for in excellent condition, taking in consideration the repairs, and you get down to your actual fee. Okay, you'll see a lot of different examples of this, but most of it is based on this basic formula. I've added an additional twist to it to give you a little bit more negotiating room by the your fee portion of it, which I'll explain in a moment. But I want to go ahead and go into this first before we get over to figuring out what is the ARV and how you can use Dealulator, aka PropStream, to do just that. So I'm going to start with the 70%. Okay. Now, what does that 70% represent? Get that question a lot. Now, sometimes you'll see 65, 60, or whatever. Just understand that this formula, again, it's only used, in my opinion, to prevent you from wasting time. Now, you want to know if you have a deal or not, but especially for newbies, it helps save you a lot of time on stuff that has no chance of being a deal. No chance of being a deal. Once you get more experience, you've done some deals, especially if you've done multiple deals in particular areas. Whenever you hear a price from a seller, you don't even know what the repairs are. You'll know it's something you need to pay attention to. All right. So what does that 70% represent? Now, 70% plus 30% equals 100%. So the 30% that is never talked about is your cash investors, profit, and holding costs. Now, again, this is all generalizations here, and the formula is used to help determine if you have an opportunity, but also to prevent you from wasting time on stuff that has no chance of being an opportunity to do a deal on. So generally speaking, this is just generally, because some investors want a lot more, some 20% is good, but Of that 30%, 20 to 25% will represent an investor's profit. The other 5 to 10% of it, depending on how much they want to take as far as profit, will represent their holding cost. Holding costs are things like utilities, or paying utilities until they sell the property. Maybe making interest payments on hard money, getting a lawn cut, things of that nature to maintain the property until they sell it. They may sell it in 30 days. It may take them a year to sell it. They don't know, but these are holding costs. All right. So you take the 70% times the ARV minus repairs minus your fee times 2 equals the offer. Okay, so you say, well, how will I know what the repairs are if I hadn't seen the property? Well, you won't. Now, what you can do, and this is what I do, and I recommend to students to do the same, is that you always want to ask the seller the condition of the property. Now, sometimes they won't know. Sometimes they obviously will know, and they'll give you something close to being accurate as far as the condition. They're not giving you a repair cost, which they may do that also. They may have had a contractor come out to get a bid or whatever. But you can't go by what they're saying, but you can use what they're saying to give you an idea. Well, this is in a D neighborhood. D is in dog, or a C neighborhood. An A is obviously the best neighborhood in your market. The D would be considered the lower price houses in your market. And you can figure out what C's and D's are. So the repair estimate in an A neighborhood is going to be different from a D. Going to go up a little more in a C, going a little bit more in a B. All right. I know this is very vague, but that's the only way you can really do it. So if it's in a D neighborhood and say the house is 1,500 square feet, and you can look all that information up once I show you how to use the dilulator. And there's other ways to look up square footage. That's a simple bit of information that you can get from a lot of different places. If the house is 1,500 square feet, I may just say the house in a D neighborhood, the house 15,000 to 25,000 in repairs. All right. If it's a 2,500 square foot house, then it could easily go up to 25,000 to 40,000. But it's a lot of things that go into that or whatever. But I was taught, and the way I teach it, to break house repairs into $5,000 increments. All right. Now, if the house just needs just touch up, paint, maybe some carpet or whatever, that could easily be $5,000 to $10,000, or you can break it down to $2,500 increments, just whatever works for you, but just simple math. Because the thing is that they're not going to be a true number for repairs. You can send 3 contractors out there to give you a bill, tell them all exactly what you want the same way, and they're going to come back with 3 different numbers. But what you need is a ballpark number. Now, I know I've expounded on the repairs, but that's an important part of the formula. Now, your fee, that's only going to be up to you. Now, once you get the 70% times ARV to repairs, then you can sort of figure out, hey, I think I can squeeze maybe $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 out of it. But I like to times it times 2, because that gives me more negotiating room on both sides of it, with the seller and possibly the buyer, if I can get away with it. Because I may think I can get 10,000 out of it, but after negotiations were close, I really probably only can get 5 out of it. Well, maybe even 2,500, but maybe I thought I could get 20,000 out of it, but I can only make 12,500. So it'll just vary, and that'll just come with time as for when you start trying to put deals together. But again, the formula helps you get there, but more importantly, it prevents you from wasting time on stuff that has no chance of being an actual deal. Okay, so with all that being said, and you have all the numbers, then that will give you the offer range. So now I'm going to show you an actual example, and then we'll get over to figuring out how to determine the ARV using Dilulator, aka prop stream. Okay, so for the sake of some quick math, I'm going with an ARV of 200,000. So that's what the house will appraise for in excellent condition. $200,000. That's the range. At least that's what I determine the range to be. Where it can be a little more, a little less, or whatever. There's no just one number. Again, just like with contracts, you can send 3 appraisers out to a house, come back with 3 different numbers, but they should be close. Okay, so I take the 70% times the 200,000, which leaves 140,000. Now you can follow along, do the math yourself. So 70% times 200,000 leaves 140,000. I'm estimating that the repairs are $40,000. Now, this is after I actually went out and viewed the property, but over the phone, I probably came up with that number anyway. Okay, so, and when I went out, it confirmed what I thought the house would, what it would take to repair the house. So subtract the 40,000 from 140. That leaves 100,000. So I say I want to make 15 grand on this deal. I think I can squeeze that out of it. But what I do is times the 15,000 times 2 gives me 30,000. So now I'm down to my offer, or the offer range of $70,000. Now the seller may say, hey, I can't do 70, but I can do 85. I probably would still roll with that, you know, because I've given myself that cushion. And even though I think I want to make 15,000, if I think I can move it fast, 7,000 will work fine also. So that's only going to be up to you. Some people say, well, what percentage should you charge? I don't know. I haven't been able to successfully come up with a formula to say, hey, you should charge this percentage on each deal, because they're so different. Each one of them are going to be just different, like human beings. The same, but different. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's the formula. It's not brain surgery, but that's the actual formula that you should use to determine if you have an opportunity or not. So now I will show you how to determine your ARV. Okay, so I'm here in the old trusty Dealulator, aka PropStream, to show you how to quickly determine if you have a deal or not, starting with what will the house appraise for in excellent condition, aka ARV, aka after repair value. A lot of times people get confused with the repair part of that, but it just simply means what will the house appraise for in excellent condition. So I have a couple of addresses to start with here. First, I'm going to start with an address on the higher end with a lot of comps. All right. And this is in Cali. We'll go ahead and place the address here. All right, so once you're here into the Dealulator, aka PropStream, you put the address in and it pulls up their information. Now, those of you that are not familiar with it, just go to Dealulator.com. This video will be there, I'm sure, but there will be others that go into more detail on what the service actually offers and what it can do for you as a tool as far as putting deals together, finding deals and putting them together. So, all right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to go down here to details. All right. In the details, obviously, you have the property details, which is the owner, it's non-owner occupied, owner's name, the owner's mailing address. All of that is very important information. You have the comp section here, which was what we're going to focus on. But you also have down here, before I go to the tax information, you have other information about the property as far as the lot size, square footage of the property, and so on. Even up here, the year it was built, the number of bedrooms and bath that is reported. It gives you a value, but that's not what I would always go by, and I'm going to show you why. All right, and then it gives more information down here. You have the tax information on the property. You have mortgage information, which doesn't show anything recorded currently. You have transaction history right here. Doesn't show any sales date or anything. And then you have the documents tab over here. All right, so let's get into what we're here for, which is determining what is the ARV. What will the house appraise for in excellent condition? So once I select that tab, it pulls up on a lot of different options here, from just comps to MLS, pre-foreclosure, foreclosures, liens, cash buyers, high equity, and so on. You can see them all here on the screen. Okay, so what the system automatically does, it defaults within a half a mile of this particular property. Now, whenever an appraiser goes out, normally what happens is that they're going to evaluate or determine what the value of a property is based on a couple of things. Number one, the distance of other properties that have sold within a certain time frame of similar size and amenities in most cases. So in this situation, normally they'll go up to a mile. If they need to go more, they will, but they prefer not. The closer they can get to the property as far as recent sales, the better they can get an idea what the true value of the property would be. All right. So it automatically defaults to a half a mile, even though I said appraisers will go up to a mile and they'll go further if need be, but a half a mile. So what you can reduce that or increase it if need be. In some situations, you will have to do that. All right. And it gives a date range from the date of this particular video, December 18th through December 18th of last year. Now you can reduce that time frame and to last month if you want, or yesterday, whatever. You're probably not going to pull as much data, of course, but normally that's what an appraiser would do. They go back 90 days, 6 months, and then a year or whatever. So this automatically defaults to a year. So just wanted to break all of that down for you. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, all right, it pulled up all these numbers, then automatically gives you a value right here. Again, I just wouldn't automatically go by that, but it's probably going to be right, but I'm not just going to automatically go by that. So what I like to do is I like to go over here to sales amount, and I like to go from high to low. So if you click it twice, it's going to go from high to low. All right. So now what it's doing here is it's including properties that have sold for $929,000, $910,000, $900,000, $850,000, $839,000. Okay. Okay. So those are a lot of good numbers. You would love to see that if you got a good deal on it. But over, as you see over here, it's 35 comps that were pulled, comparable sales that were pulled. So to try to reduce that number and get closer to your property, because you do have so many to work with, what you'll use here is this tool right here. So you click on this tool, and then all you have to do is, I'm going to stay within these main streets here that it appears to be. So you just click once, click again, click again, click again. So now, and then I hit search. Okay. So now it reduced it down to 12 properties. Okay. So now I'm getting a really true snapshot of what properties are selling for around the property that we're targeting, which is the large blue spot here. Okay. So that number was 700 and some change. Now it's down to 664. Okay, so now it's giving a true chest snapshot, but I'm still going to say it's probably worth 700. And the reason why is what I always do. And even when you're doing it, I guess the poor man's way of doing it. And I have a video on YouTube titled Top 3 Ways to Calculate ARV. And that's basically taking sites like Zillow, HomeSnap, HomeSnap.com, Homes.com, Realtor.com, Trulia.com, which is Zillow and Trulia, the same thing. I think ePraisal, and I'll just compare. And what I'm looking for consistency as far as a value at the highest point. All right. And what I mean by that, and this is a perfect example, what we have here is we have 720, 715, 710, 707, 700. Bam. That it doesn't get any better than that as far as knowing what this property would sell for in this particular area. Now, you say, well, what's the number then? If you wanted to, you can average these if you wanted to. Probably what I would do is I would probably say this probably would sell at 710. Now it could easily go for 720 also. But I'm going to probably stick around 710 is the number that I would pull out. But again, you could take all 5 of these, which as I said, this is a really good example of a number of comps that you can use, and they're all close to each other. Now, a different example is that if you go all the way down here to the bottom of number 12, it gets down to 582. So I would throw that out. I would throw the 602 out, see how it's going. And when we didn't have all of these comps here, when the 35 comps was there, there were going to be a lot more numbers that you could have thrown out on the high end and the low end. So what you're looking for is you're looking for the consistency at its highest point, but this makes it a lot easier for you because you can draw this actual diagram around the area, especially when it has this many comps, and you can get a true snapshot of it in a lot of cases. Not always going to be that way, but with that many comps, you're really getting a good idea of what's going on in that particular area. Oh, I needed to add this particular edit to this video. I simply forgot to show you a simple way to calculate the average without having to do the math yourself. So what you'll want to do is uncheck all here. So they're none checked now. And remember, I wanted to use these first 5. It may be less for you, it may be more. So what you'll simply do is check all 5 of these. So now it comes up with an average of $710,400. I think I needed to add that one additional tip to show you one of the features within the Dealulator, aka PropStream software. So it can simplify it for you. You don't have to do the math yourself. It'll calculate it for you. Because remember, I diagrammed the actual area that I wanted to target because it was so many comps. And then I just broke it down even further and selected the highest comps with consistency. And here's your number. So boom. Now, one of the other things that you can do, you have your cash buyers tab here. So now you found the deal. So, oh, yeah, I got a deal here. So you automatically want to go to your cash buyers tab. Now, what the cash buyers tab is doing, it's pulling up properties from at least a mile away, and it doesn't even have a time frame on when property sold. So what you want to do is adjust that. Okay, so what you'll say is, I want to go back to, I'm just going to say maybe June 1st. And, you know, obviously up till December. All right, so now that cash buyer is reduced down to about 8. Okay, and you can see over here what they were paying for those properties in this area. Okay, if we go from low to high, you see people paying as much as $510,000 cash. What is that? 520, 575, 605, 635. All right, but we're still a mile out, so I want to reduce that. So if I reduce that to, we'll just say 5. Now I only have 1, okay? And so what I may want to do in that situation, since I reduced the distance, I may want to go back a little bit more as far as the time. So I'm going to go back to January, which would be almost a full year. Okay, so I got to have a few more comps here. So you see 690, 635, and 769. Okay, so there you go. Now, if you want to extend this out a little more, and we'll say to 0.75. Okay, so now you have 7. So that gives you a little bit more data. Now, if you want to go up to the mile, then boom, it's going to give you, 14 of them. Okay, now someone asked a question on one of my, it may have been Instagram or one of my YouTube videos. He said, well, all of these cash buyers are going to be investors. No, they're not. Some of these people just have the cash to buy a house and they're going to live in it. Okay, so, but assuming that you just went with people that are bought in a year and you have a 14 people that have paid cash for properties in an area, and 2 of those are real cash buyers, what would that be worth to you over the lifespan of you wholesaling? So you have to keep that mindset on it, that's a lot of good data that there's 2 guys or 2 investors that are going to buy over and over again in this particular area, near this property. Okay, so that's pretty much in a nutshell on a property with a lot of comps. Now let me just show you one on a property that doesn't have a lot of comps. So let me clear this. Go back over here to my notepad. So boom. All right. And hit details. Comparable sales. Only 4 comps, right? And there's a main drag that crosses over. On top of that, look where these sale prices are. Number one, only $3,500 was paid for this property. Number two, which you can see it over here to the left, they pay $84,000, which is only a block away, 0.1 miles. Number three, $46,000 and some change. Now it crosses that main drag there, which is Culver Road. And then number four, it crosses the main drag also, but all of them are within a half a mile there. So you say, well, what would the value be on this property? Now, what I would probably do is I would say that the value of this property, which is showing right here, I would probably go along with something in this range right here between $50,000 to $60,000. You have the 84 and the 77, but you have that 46 there. So I want to show you an example when you don't have a lot of comps, how to try to figure it out. So we're going to automatically throw out that 3,500, even though it's really close to this particular property here. And that may be the number. Your market will tell you, but you can only go by the data that's put in front of you. So there's not a lot of actual transactions here, but if I go to the cash buyers tab, right? Okay, so it's going to go up to a mile, but it's not going to have an actual date on it. So I'm going to put a date on it. So let me go back. I'm just going to go back even a full year, or right at it. And we'll go, yeah, up to, so it automatically just default to today's date. So now that reduces down to 26. We're up to we're still up to a mile, but I want to reduce that down. Let's say if we did it 0.25 miles, what we get. All right, so we got 3 transactions. So we have that 3,500, we have that 84,000, but we also have 50,000. Now look where the 50,000 is located. It's right there, close to it. None of them crossed that Culver Road, which is a good thing. As a matter of fact, number 2 crossed another street, which can make a huge difference. Our main drag here is 84,000. So I'm going to side on someone paid cash money for that. So, and that happened recently, back in September. And it's an actual smaller house. Look at the square footage on it, 864 now. And this house is 1336. So there may be an opportunity there if you can get the right price on it. So again, now if you want to go out a little more, try to see if you can find some more cash buy, we'll go up to 0.75. So now you have 9 of them. So look at those transactions. Now, some of them cross that Culver Road or whatever. So you just have to dig a little deeper. 10,000, 127, 35, 6,500, 46, 8,000. So they're all over the place here. But I wanted to show you that because sometimes it's just like that. And so it's so important that you get a great deal on this. If it were me, I would want this house under 10,000 or less. I came up with a number. I'm going to go with the low side of 50 grand as an ARV, maybe a little more because there's not a lot of data here to go by, but I'm going to be on the safe side that I can get this property for 10,000 or less. I will roll with it, unless it's just in really good condition, meaning that it's really livable, just some lipstick or put it into excellent condition, but I wouldn't go much more than that just to be on the safe side. But there's obviously some activity here. You may be able to find a buyer. Now, this is a smaller town. So, but it's a college town, which is Tuscaloosa, Alabama. There's a lot of activity there because you just always have transitioning students and all that, even though I don't know if this is the area where students live, even though there's still a college there, but most of those students live there or in apartments or whatever. So, people in T-Town can correct me on that, but I'm somewhat familiar with this area. It's sort of like a little hit and miss. It sort of transitions over a few blocks farther up or whatever. So, but again, I just wanted to show you a property that didn't really have a lot of comps on it, but on the lower end spectrum of as far as house prices, which these are the under $100,000 versus the one that I showed you out in California, which they were over $500,000, approaching $1 million. So it's all relative. People say, well, I don't see properties in my area that are $50,000 or $10,000. It's relative. You know, if average house prices are $400,000, that means that's what people can afford. But people still die there. People still get divorced. Tired landlords relocate. Job or income loss, medical bills, tax bills, kids going off to college. Life is what I'm explaining. So your job is to make sure you're doing a good job of letting people know you exist. But in a nutshell, just want to let you dive into this dealulator AK prop string. This is just the tip of the iceberg of the information that it will provide or help you as a tool to be able to, number one, to be able to evaluate deals, to see if you have to find sellers and buyers. As long as you know how to use it, it's just a tool, like a paintbrush. You can go to Lowe's and buy a paintbrush, but it's not going to automatically paint itself. You still have to use it or whatever. So it's not going to do deals for you. The paintbrush is not going to paint a house for it by itself. You have to use it. You have to use it. So again, if you want to sign up for the 5-day free trial to test it out, make sure you just watch all those videos on dealulator.com before you dive into it, because the worst thing you want to do is waste those 5 days and you don't have an idea what you're trying to do. And if you always have a question or something about something, just call support. They're on Pacific Standard Time, so 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. PT time, so California time, as people like to say, or well, West Coast time. So I think the number is 877-204-9040, but it's on the site or whatever. So again, just wanted to show you how to determine house value, ARV, aka after repair value. You have to know what a house is worth before you even think about knowing if you have a deal or not. What the house is worth, what the seller is selling it for, repairs, your fee, and boom. But I hope this video helps. Thanks, and I will see you guys on the flip side.